Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. Tonight I'm going to be reviewing an American horror film, which is a Clive Barker adaptation, released in the year 2008, directed by Ryu Kitamura, and this movie is called The Midnight Meat Train. And the story to The Midnight Meat Train is as follows. Struggling photographer Leon Kaufman's obsessive pursuit of dark subject matter leads him into the path of a serial killer named Mahogany, the subway murderer who stalks late-night commuters, ultimately butchering them in the most gruesome ways imaginable. So the movie centres around Leon, who is played by Bradley Cooper, who is a struggling photographer. He has a lot of pressure to come up with some very interesting photos. So he stalks he basically goes at night and goes to the subway station, and this is where he captures quite a few interesting pictures. However, this is where he comes across Mahogany, who is a late-night commuter, who is very lonely but has a very strange presence about him. So Leon becomes obsessed with Mahogany, and Mahogany is, he's a very sinister character, and when Leon realizes the truth behind Mahogany, his life's in a lot of danger, but he can't quite seem to leave Mahogany alone. He becomes very, very obsessed with this guy, and at the same time he's neglecting his girlfriend. His girlfriend is really concerned about the mental health of Leon, but Leon just, he lives for Mahogany basically. He just wants to know what this guy's all about, and he is determined to get down to the bottom of the truth. And when he gets to the truth, it's far more terrifying than anyone could ever have expected. So if you want to know how the movie unfolds, hopefully I've done a good enough job at getting enough curiosity up there for you to see how the film unfolds. Now my thoughts on this movie. I'm a big Clive Barker adaptation fan. Dread is probably my favourite Clive Barker adaptation, and I was hoping that this one was going to be of the same standard. Unfortunately, it's nowhere near as good as Dread, and it disappointed me a little bit. However, having said that, there is enough positives in the film to make it, recommendable. Now, the good things I liked about it, it's a very strong Japanese flavour in the film. It's a very stylized film, which is both a positive and also a negative. I'll go through the negative a little bit later, but the positive to the movie was that it was very J-horror. It was a very atmospheric horror film, and you could really sense the obsessive nature that Leon was going when he was going after Mahogany. And Mahogany had such a sinister presence that you felt really scared for Leon, because you knew that whatever he finds out, it's not going to be good. So it's a very slimy, grimy, sort of dirty feeling. It's a very claustrophobic feeling. It's a very surreal, nightmarish atmosphere. And the claustrophobic feeling comes from when Leon's character is becoming so obsessed with Mahogany that it seems like Mahogany is his whole world. So it really does have a very tense claustrophobic feeling over the viewer. And you know that when he starts neglecting his family, his world is becoming more and more sinister, darker, and at the same time a lot smaller. So there is a very strong sense of dread and claustrophobia, which I feel is very hard to do, but that's what I feel that J-horror does very well. So Ryu Kitamura has brought a Japanese presence, and he has done it very, very well in this movie. Now, the acting was very good. Normally I don't like Bradley Cooper, but he plays a very obsessive person very, very well. He's a very strong transformation from the person he was to the person that he becomes later in the movie. Then you've got Vinnie Jones, who actually stole the show for me. I thought he was the best part of the film. He's not known for his acting, whereas I actually feel that he shows that he can act in this movie. He doesn't say anything except for a few words right at the end, but the majority of the film is just him with body language, and he has such an intimidating presence, and his facial expressions, he was vacant of all feeling. He had no sympathy, he had no regrets, no remorse, which made him a terrifying character. And the way that he does what he does is both very barbaric and cold and cruel, and it just kind of makes you feel that he is beyond human. So he did a very good job, and I actually thought that he was the best part of the movie. Now, it all adds up to an ending. I thought the ending was a little bit weak. The twist at the end I actually liked, but then what happens right at the end, I'm not going to tell you, but I thought that was a little bit weak, and it didn't do the actual film justice in the end. But having said that, that's not the biggest negative I have of the film. My biggest negative is the stylized violence. I thought it went a little bit over the top with the CGI, and it ruined the gritty atmosphere that it wanted. There were a few scenes that it didn't have too much CGI, which was really good, but there were a few scenes that seemed really out of place because the whole film is going for a particular feeling, but then when you get the comical CGI violence in some scenes, it really kind of ruined the experience for me, and I kind of thought to myself that this could have been so much better if it had have been just really disturbing brutality, rather than people saying that looked really cool. There are a few slow motion shots in the violence that really just overdid it, and I felt that it was a little bit of overkill and that the director was showing off a little bit when the movie really didn't need to be, showing off. So it really had a lot of good things going for it, but in the end, I thought that the negatives, while they weren't so big, it was just enough to bring the film down just a little bit. But I would recommend it, if not only for the acting and the atmosphere, but just don't expect a masterpiece because it really should have been a masterpiece. But I think the director's arrogance got in the way just a little bit of the overall film. So overall, I'm giving this 3 out of 5. It's definitely coming recommended. There's some very good gore scenes in it. So if you've got a weak stomach, I would say stay well away from it. But as I said, unfortunately, there were a few scenes that kind of just looked a little bit more comic book rather than the shocking brutality that the film was overall going for. So, apart from that, there's no film out there that is flawless. So this is just another one of those films. Having said all those negatives, it is a movie I'm recommending. 3 out of 5. Just don't expect anything that's going to be overly brilliant. So that's my review of Clive Barker's The Midnight Meat Train. 3 out of 5. Coming recommended, but it was slightly disappointing. Alright guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.